Shalom, friends, and welcome to yet another episode of Resubbed, a World of Warcraft podcast for the casual player. How's it going? My name is Raymond. Thank you again for joining us. It's Sunday morning. We're easy, just like it. Joining me, as always, is my awesome co-host, Michelle. Michelle, how are we?
Today, I'm exhausted, actually.
Yeah? Tell us why.
Yeah.
Give us a scoop. The inside scoop of Michelle's life.
Had a long day yesterday. We drove to a pumpkin patch that was 2 hours away from home. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty crazy there, busy.
Uncomfortably busy?
Yeah, it was just I was kind of paranoid, but I tried to enjoy myself because we were with with family. And
I know.
It's
dude.
like you kind of look around and you're like, okay, that person's not wearing a mask. That person's not wearing a mask. Stay away from this person. Oh, that guy's coughing, took his mask off to cough and then put his mask back on. Yeah. So
yes,
it was not fun, but it was fun.
I know.
And it was just exhausting.
It's just one of those things. I know, and my week has kind of been like that way too. We had my wife happens to work. By the way, shout out to all the essential workers out there.
Yeah,
you're still our heroes. I know it might not feel that way. I know at the very beginning of all this, everyone was like, "Yay, essential workers!" and they're our heroes. And now it's like, please immediately go get the thing that I asked for right now, or else I'm going to lose it here. Yeah, dude. You guys are in our hearts because my wife is one of those. And sometimes it's a crazy time right now. People are getting crazier. We're getting close to the election. And so there tends to be, people. I know that's our message. Just be nice. This is not even about politics. It's just, they're cool people. And we come from, that's how we met, you and I, Michelle. We worked in retail. Mm-hmm. So for years and years and years, we know what it's like. We've been in crazy situations. So shout out, swig of coffee to the essential workers out there. We love you and we appreciate everything you do. So thank you so much. But with that said, let's talk about WoW, dude, because there's a lot to talk about. This episode is going to be action packed because this past Tuesday, the pre-patch finally launched. Massive outage. It was out for most of the day, right? I think it was 9,
it was supposed to be 3
hours.
And then they pushed it back another hour.
Mm-hmm.
And
then every single pre-patch day, everybody's trying to get on. We find for the first time in a long time, I saw a queue to actually get in. Had to wait. I was like, ooh, look at that. Like the good old days when you had to wait in line to play your game. That was pretty cool. But I'll be honest, I played some, and in fact, I literally was just playing right before we got on now, just for the show. So I did it for the show.
just for you guys,
just for you, the sacrifices I make to get in minutes of playing. But I didn't get as much time as I'd like to this week. But what I did get into, and I feel like today is a good day for me to talk about it because you know what? Let me just pause right there and I'll get it to my side. Michelle, pre-patch. Let's get Michelle's hot takes. The new segment.
So the first thing I want to say is, I told you so.
Yes. Oh yes. I apologize.
So the event did not happen.
Okay. I am a man who, in my life, doesn't make many mistakes. But when I do, I own up to them, and I've owned up to 1,000 billion mistakes. And so I totally called this one. Michelle was right. The Depths Rising quest line was not introduced in this patch. It's in there somewhere, but it's not activated yet.
Yeah.
So it didn't start. I thought it was going to start. So yes, Michelle, I apologize. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You're not the only one, actually. A lot of people in trade chat were confused because they were looking for that. They're like, well, what happened to that event? What's happening? It's not.
Yeah, and typically, for you guys who might be resubbing or are casual players, this is going to be the episode for you because we're going to definitely dive more into that aspect of things. So because hey, going back to the previous 2-3 episodes now, this is a great time to resub. It's kind of fun. Not even just kinda. It's a lot of fun now, and I feel like the game got a really big shot in the arm, a boost, like a pick me up. We got a shot of caffeine in the right place. It's burning on all cylinders. It's pick whatever metaphor that you like that makes makes you feel good. But right now, that's where we're at with it. But yeah, I was wrong. No quest line. However, intriguing point to that. Whenever they do decide to activate that quest line, you could probably assume that they got it timed out to the release of Shadowlands, the expansion.
Right. Then you'll kind of know, like, okay, so
it's
going to happen sometime soon.
So as far as I know, and I could be wrong, so, it happens rarely, folks. It's so unusual that I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but I think what I read is that the quest line was broken up specifically into 2 weeks. So it's like you do the quest line up to a certain point and it stops, and then the next update or the next week's patch or daily patch, they'll implement the second one. And so you could surmise off of that. It's a story that can be told in 2 parts, and once that story is done, it should lead directly into Shadowlands. Is what's, fingers crossed. That's what the hope is. But I'm excited. I'm like more excited now for Shadowlands I'm actually super excited that I have all this time because there's a lot of cool stuff to dig around. But please, Michelle, so back to Michelle's hot takes.
Other than that, I noticed, I don't know, it could be me, but I noticed that leveling is a lot easier for some reason. Like I actually am leveling faster. I hit 50 on my Warlock in about 3 or 4 hours. Which is max level now, right? Which is max level for now until,
So we've gone, if you're following along, we've gone from 120 and we've been squished all the way down to 50, and all the numbers are corresponding to that. So so overall, it's not supposed to feel that much different. It's just the numbers different. It's basically if we're trying to get used to the metric system,
Yeah.
And they've done this before.
But it was kind of weird when I was running dungeons. I think I mentioned that to you.
Yes.
So my Warlock at the time was like 47, and I had a tank that was level 20 and a healer that was a level 25.
See, at first
when
when you texted me that,
this is so weird.
When you texted me that, I was like, why is she tripping? I was like, because in my head, I was thinking she was probably level 25, 26. Now that you said you were 47 and your tank was 20.
I was 47. My tank was, So it was odd, but I mean, I get it, right? Everyone is so. I
don't get it.
Dungeon is,
is tailored to the individual player.
Exactly, the individual player. So when I look at the mobs, they're like the 47 or whatever. But when they're looking at their mobs, it's 20 or whatever it is, right?
That's weird.
So it's so weird to me because I look at them and I'm like
that. It's like
it makes me feel weird. It's weird, right? It's like I know it shouldn't make me feel weird, but I really was just like, is my tank really level 20 right now? Like, are we going to die? Like, what's going to happen here?
Is he really taking this as seriously as I am?
Right?
Because he's a level 20. I'm 47. I'm so close to 50.
Yeah, that was really weird. And then there are a lot of new players.
That's awesome.
Have you noticed that too?
I have noticed. Yeah. I've seen a notice of new people in. I wanted to talk about that as well, which is cool. And probably a lot of people just maybe resubbing or just like a lot of alts and stuff, trying out the new content as well. But yeah.
So that was weird. But I like that in each zone, you have so many people now. Like you're not alone leveling. I saw so many. Okay, here's another thing. Same thing. Everyone's different, a different level. So here I am, again, level 47, and you have level 10s running around doing the same thing.
Doing the exact same thing.
And you're like, this is odd.
And this is consistent with some other MMOs. Final Fantasy 14. Every single episode I bring up Final Fantasy, I was like, the online one. I can never remember. It's 14. It's number 14. That and ESO online. Or ESO, that's like saying ATM machine. It's
the Elder Scrolls.
It's Elder Scrolls Online. Those two, WoW definitely took a lot of lessons from those two. You get that experience, and and I love it because I love exactly that. I love the feeling that you're in a populated world. People are running. I like people running around doing stuff around me.
It's not just you and the NPCs.
Yes.
There are other people playing in this world.
This world is full of people. And that's where this game shines. And this is why you should play. If you're curious about this game, this is when you want to play.
Now, before it comes out.
Discover this game when a lot of other people are discovering this game, because they've really come and I know it sounds funny. We're talking about a 15-year-old game, but and I think this is my conspiracy theory. It's every other expansion that I think they really like knock it out of the park. And we're on it. We're on that rotation of the other expansion. It's like it's a new game that's fun. Like there's an energy to it. There's a vibe to it where everybody's discovering new stuff for the first time. And yes, there's going to be veterans who play this game who know like the mechanics and they don't really think about it. And they kind of know the certain pattern and the beats of stuff, but there's still a lot of cool new things to discover, which I actually wanted to talk to you about. There's some older content that I went through. I hadn't gone through. I was like, this is amazing. Like, I love this. It made me feel awesome again. So what else? What else have you found out in the pre-patch? Where have you been spending most of your time on your previous characters or leveling?
So I actually, because of the artifacts, I went to Legion.
Okay.
Because I love the artifact weapons.
Expansion. That is.
Yeah, I like it. I thought about
the chef's kiss. I
thought about Pandaria,
exploding
right?
fingers.
But then I kind of already I did that earlier on, like before the pre-patch was released. I did that with my monk. So I thought, okay, well, I really want to go through Legion. And again, the weapons, because I'm all about, this. I love transmog. Yeah. So the warlock gets this really cool weapon have you seen it? There's a skull.
Is it a scythe?
Skull. There's a skull that follows you around.
That's amazing.
Have you not seen it?
I have not seen it, but
oh my
that's
God,
amazing.
It's awesome. It's the skull that just kind of circled, like it's just, for a warlock, it's awesome.
And so, this is the legendary weapon, right? Okay. That's badass. Like the legendary hunter weapon was supposed to have a pet, a spirit.
Which
wolf?
one?
Javi?
The beast? Yeah, because I went through that. Did you do it?
I didn't know, but I never like got the beast itself. Like it never.
So for that weapon, it's for beast mastery, right?
Yeah.
So you go through this quest line to get it, and what happens is Javi helps you beat I forgot her name, but you beat this person who's trying to steal the weapon. Yeah.
Right.
And so Javi helps you. And by doing
that
or
something, yeah.
he gets all of the Titan, like all of the energy.
That's right. Yeah.
And so you have to help him. And what happens is the weapon you get has Javi's spirit in it.
That's cool.
So yes, it would make sense to have Javi there randomly. Like say when you're using it, he kind of pops up and does something. That would be cool. I don't think it does, but that it was pretty nice to see. Like
that's cool. Yeah.
You have to do Legion just for the weapons.
So you're saying that the warlock version of this is it destruction or is it demonology?
The warlock, my first one is demonology. So you can get,
that's the one with the skull?
So depending on how many specs your character has, you can get a weapon for each.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because they give you the option to go to all three, and you can collect the appearances for them too, so you can do it for transmog. And I'll tell you this now, folks: like if you're not into or if you don't know what we're talking about, transmog, short for transmogrification, is the study of 18th century paintings by classic. No, it's not transmogrification. You're making your current gear look like something else. Basically, you can not permanently, but like change the look of your character, which I know sounds okay. It's actually really fun because
it's awesome.
Back in the day when they didn't have transmogrification, all the say you played a warrior class, right? And you got, at the time, the best armor came from like the hardest dungeons and raids and what have you. And you had to grind for weeks, the same bosses over and over. The good old days, Michelle, which you're going to talk about later on. The good old days of doing that. But what ended up happening was like, if you were part of a badass guild and you had the best armor on, it was identical to the best armor of everybody else on that server or whoever had the same amount of time and a great guild to grind all these raids with. So even though it felt awesome having this full set, don't get me wrong, like to this day, I had a 7 out of 8 Wrath set and I was so mad I never got the stupid boots. I never got the boots to this day. But what was I going to say? It was cool to have it and to show it off like was great, but then there'd be like 10 other players around you with the same thing. So it's like, it starts losing its flavor. So now you can go to a transmogrifier NPC, and then piece by piece of clothing that shows, you can change it to look like a different piece of armor that drops. So you can mix and match stuff. You can go, but it doesn't affect at all the stats of your current gear. So
no, it's just the look.
It's just a look. So you could literally, which is kind of genius on Blizzard's part to put in, or just, it's just a genius idea in general. Because then you could just make current gear look awful. Like
if you wanted to
you could be lazy and just do super basic gear, but
it doesn't even have to be like epic gear, because a lot a greens too, sometimes you're like, oh, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
or it's a certain color tint that you
common
want
to, or like fire, you can mix different fire, because they don't have just one fire set for mages, right? That you can mix each like different pieces, but it's still fire. So it looks like it goes together, but
and so you're thinking to yourself,
it looks like a set.
I get the idea. Yes, you make yourself look different. Why is that important? It's so important. As time has gone on, those little details, little doodads, trinkets, things, little cosmetics that happen to your character as you play, you
pretty awesome.
Grow attached to that. Yeah. Like you like the look of your character when it's just standing there,
or even just the weapons and the enchantments too.
Yeah, and you feel badass. Right? You just feel like
when you're badass. Like glowing or something.
It's like I'm glowing. I wish I could look like this in real life. I wish things about me were just randomly happening, like augmented reality, like this bird sitting on my head, and disappears or something like that.
So
like
my paladin has this crown. It's from, I want to say it's from Ice Crown, I think. But the skull, have you seen it?
No.
So it's like frost going down her face, and then it changes into a skull every now and then.
I have seen that. That's badass.
Dude.
Yeah.
You need to get that one for your paladin.
And it's like almost
my paladin has that one.
That's like an awesome thing that you do. So, and then in your head, I mean, you can't do it storyline wise. In your head, you can make like a paladin, like you said, like a death-focused paladin, and have his own little backstory. It's like, oh yeah, he's a paladin, but he kind of like is fascinated. He's really emo, or he's really goth. He's just, he just likes that aesthetic, so he just kind of goes overboard with the thing. Yeah. So it's like you could do those fun little things, and that's the game to me. That's the real kind of the special relationship that I have with this game that I don't have with others, is just making. Because your character's you after a certain point of time, because you're spending so much time with it. You want to make it fun and cool and as shiny as possible. But we're getting off track here. But
so let me ask you, what do you like about I know you said you didn't really play as much as you wanted to.
But what I liked about it so far is let's see. So I did not get to 120 on the hunter. Like I was planning on to before pre-patch it, just to get it. So it actually ended up 112 where the players dwell. And then when the stat squish happened, he became 46. But just like you, I've like leveled through 4 levels, like nothing. Yeah. Like even though I didn't play that much, I was like, holy crap, that went by super quick. And I didn't have any questing. I was all questing, always be ABQ. People, these are for the casual and resub. ABQ, always be questing. That is, to me, if you're concerned about just getting through your levels, which I think now you shouldn't just be concerned, because it's kind of fun to just play. But even then, the questing paces itself. It's not always you're just going out to kill stuff. There's a lot of just go out to kill 10 of this or 20 of these or 20, but then all the storylines always intersperse it with some other random fun, like one-off quests that you like can't otherwise do. I'll tell you right now, I'm a fan of those ride around on a dragon and throw shit at people. Like those are my favorite. Yeah. Like I know I've done maybe 1 million of those quests over the years. I still get a kick out of doing them. I don't know why. I just do.
I like those too.
But you don't get that in a dungeon. In a dungeon, it gets and if dungeon crawling is your thing, that's cool. I'm not trying to poop on that.
It's a waste of time.
For me, yes, it is, because I feel like I don't get as much done with my limited amount of playtime. But I feel like questing does. One, it takes you around the zone so you can see cool stuff that you otherwise wouldn't see, right? 2, it furthers the storyline, which is what I'm always into. And 3, you get a ton of XP. And 4, gear. And 5, gold.
Gear, yeah. Also, if you're doing, like, we mentioned it before, when you are leveling, you should do gathering quests. Sorry, professions.
Yes.
And so that's also extra XP as well. So while you're doing these quests, you're like skinning or like, picking herbs and stuff like that, or flowers.
And then also it always leads into other, the random chests that you find around the map. It also which is fun. Like I still enjoy doing that, finding a random
because the chest will have like pieces like that are 100 gold or something.
Yeah. Easily. Like and it's like, oh, thank you. And it's like your reward for just, hey, you walked over this way. Thanks.
You also get XP when you open them.
Can you imagine that? Like, you're just like, I'm going to take a different route to my cafe.
What if in real life,
there's a treasure chest.
There's a chest. Oh my God. We can sell this for $1,000. Let's go. Yeah.
Yay. There's rare mobs. Like, I like finding rare mobs. Oh my God. That was one of the funnest things, was leveling up at 46 as I was starting to find rare mobs around, and it would drop gear that like made sense for my leveling. I was like, oh, this is fantastic. This is great. Yeah, and you just kind of keep on going.
So questing is the way to go.
Yes, questing. So my time with the pre-patch has been spent. I've been fascinated by the stat squish myself, because I especially noticed it in the amount of XP I was getting. Was when I think I've mentioned it, when you do the in Legion Invasion quest, you get like 100k XP. Well, before the pre-patch, and then I was getting like these huge chunks of XP in my bottom bar, and it was like 8,000 XP.
Yeah, 6,000, 3,000. I also noticed that too. That was weird to me too. Ugh. But then you see your bar move so much, and you're like, weird.
Okay, cool. I'll take it.
But it makes sense.
So I went in there to finish off the dwarf so that so he is at 50, and I also actually went through last night. I just pounded it all out, was do all the Argus quest lines to unlock the Void Elves and the Light Forge.
Right. Okay.
Races.
Okay.
By the way, which is funny. Okay, so this is all the stories. Like, if you haven't, there are these races called allied races, and they're basically alternate skins of current races that are in the game that you can play. They're badass. They're fun to play. Like, I'm trying to make.
But they also have better racials.
They have improved racial abilities that are really fascinating, like much cooler than the stock standard races.
Yeah.
Plus, they have, obviously, I think my favorite thing that makes me want to roll Horde again is probably the Maghar orcs, the brown skin orcs. They look savage, super savage. They look awesome. And but in this case, if you do, and just so you know, if you do start an allied race character, any allied race, it doesn't matter what class or combo, it'll start off at level 10 immediately. So you'll be in
you can choose where you want to level at that point.
Exactly.
You won't go to Exile's Reach.
You don't have to do the Exile's Reach, which I want to spend a little bit of time talking about, because I just played my first couple minutes with it. It's great. Spoiler alert. It's great the way they designed the zone.
Did you do Horde or Alliance?
I just did Alliance, just real quick.
I did a Horde.
But when I actually did get on to play the pre-patch, the first thing I did was go to the barbershop with.
Me too. I think a lot of people did the same thing. I was like, I saw people hanging out. Like, it was the place to be. Was full
of it. So I just went to the Iron Forge one. They didn't have like a line or anything, but a line. But like there were some people
at Stormwind. There were people standing outside,
which I thought was funny. I was like, just go to a different city, people, if you want to change your
but I don't think it's an issue. Like, you can still go.
You can still click. Yeah.
It's not like it's not like you have to wait in line to get your hair. You know what I mean? Like,
well, maybe
you can actually click on the chair.
I think people just miss socializing in real life. Yeah. They're just like, hey. Yeah.
I purposely did not mention the barbershop because I was kind of disappointed.
I was a little disappointed too. But I figured out here's why, is because I play a Draenei, and they did add a few options to mine, but it wasn't a lot. And I really felt like it just made me want, these are great. Like, I think you can do a full on, I don't know if you could do a beard before, but it feels like there's more beard options for Draenei, more hair options. I forgot to look into the actual, like, what did they add into it? But for my Draenei male, I just changed a few things. I was like, that's okay. But like, for him,
right, that's how I felt too.
He's a paladin, and he wears full armor anyway, because I like him to wear full on sets. Like, that's how he should look. So it's like, any changes I make to him aren't going to be like as evident. So I was like, okay, that's lame. I did have a better,
unless you transmog.
Yeah. I did take the opportunity to make my dark. I don't think they added any new things to Dark Iron Dwarf customizations, but I did change his beard and beard color. I think maybe hair color might have been
There's a lot of hair color
like options, right?
Options.
You know what I did like? The eye color options, specifically the two different
ones.
Yeah.
I thought it was too creepy, so I didn't do it.
But now that I'm like, when I was messing with it, I was like, okay, this is kind of fun. So yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I was a little bit disappointed because I thought there'd just be more right?
options,
and it was just in my head that there'd just be more to do. With that said, I mean, did you mess with the human females? Did you mess with the human females?
I did. So the first one I wanted to change was my mage, and then
was that disappointing for you on that side?
Yeah,
it was. Oh, I thought they would. Because they had it the worst. They had it the worst pre-patch, like pre-patch.
Still is like there's something weird about the facial features. I don't know. I can't.
Are they just too generic-y or?
I think so. I think like to be honest, I want to change my mage to another.
Okay. Are you just over it? Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't think I like humans.
Is it
and plus, you're playing this game, right? It's like magical and
we're humans
exactly. Why be a human?
Okay. If you're a human player and you're listening to this, why?
There's nothing special about that.
I'm not trying to poo-poo on playing a human.
We're humans, but
we are human, and they are obviously relatable because they are. But at the same time, it's a fantasy game. The first thing I wanted to play was an orc because I was like, dude, I love the Horde. Like, that's going to be awesome. And I think orcs and Tauren are the most badass. So that's what I wanted to be.
Yeah. So I might change her because I just I wasn't impressed with it.
Okay. Well, that's a bummer. I don't know if it's still live, but they did have the 30% off of the.
I saw, yeah. So we'll see.
Maybe
my mage might be something else,
or you could just boost something. I don't know.
No, because oh my god! So I got my heritage armor because I know you mentioned your dark iron dwarf. So I got mine. So I have my mecha gnome. She has her heritage armor. Then it's pretty dope. I mean, you know, it's a robot.
Okay, it's like that, like mechanical motif.
Yeah, but my void elf warlock, dude, it's like she's wearing a bra. She's showing her.
Is
it's
it
like
a bra made of void, made of the abyss?
Yes, and she has the wings.
Here.
So my favorite part, she has void wings. It's awesome.
Is it the effect of like it's in space? Because that void, you know what I'm talking about? It's the melt. It's like space that's like melting. Because when I did I just did the quest for that to unlock the void elves, and then
you see them wearing it, right?
I don't know if I saw that, but it was like there's patches of the ground that look like they're being sucked into a black hole. If it's that look, I was like, wow, that's really cool. Like it trips me out.
We'll insert a picture here to show you, but. Yeah, her heritage armor is awesome. Like the wings are, it's just these dark blue, like void wings. Like you're a dark angel.
That's awesome.
It's awesome. So
that's awesome. And that's your warlock, right?
That's the warlock, yeah.
That's a good look for a
It's
warlock.
perfect. Right, exactly. Like say if I were to change my human mage into a void elf, it doesn't really tie in, you know? But for the warlock, it's perfect for her.
Gotcha. So I think because I started messing around with the void elf customizations myself last night, so I made a priest, and I think I'm going to make him a shadow priest. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like.
Are you still level 10?
I am level 10. I haven't even touched him yet at all.
Okay, I made a mechagnome rogue, so we should level together.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah.
Rogue.
Let's do that. Where do you want to level through?
I really like the artifact weapons. I'm really big on these weapons.
Okay, let's talk Legion.
You can always switch. You can always switch. So you can always go to Chromie if you wanted to.
Yes.
And change.
And that's totally fine. But I'm probably not because I love Legion. I think I'm going to... Dude, okay. So I used to love Mists of Pandaria was my favorite for a long time. But now I spent more time with Legion. I'm just so mad at myself for not sticking with Legion when it was around live. Because, man...
It's pretty nice.
It's nice.
Yeah.
The way the levels are set out, the storyline. So I played through. I know I skipped a whole bunch of storyline to get to the point where you can unlock. Yeah, right. But even then, I was like, Argus, that whole area was badass. Like, it's so, by the way, so many crystals. I love them some crystals. There are crystals and essential oils all over that place.
The only thing that I didn't like about that before pre-patch was not being able to fly.
Yes. And now that you can fly, yes.
Now that you can fly, that is, yes, that's another thing is you can fly everywhere.
So for the returning player, the only flying, if you can have flying mounts pretty much, I would say 90% of the game. The only time that you don't have flying is in the most recent expansion, which would be Battle for Azeroth, and then in Shadowlands. Usually they gate those, but it seems that every new expansion they'll just remove the flying.
Oh, that's right. You can't in BFA because my hunter can't fly yet.
Can't fly, unless or wait, didn't you unlock flying already?
Oh, that's right. You know why? My hunter is only level 20.
Oh, because so you haven't even have the flying ability yet. There you go. That makes sense. Anyways, so most of my time during pre-patch was leveling my dwarf, and then I went back to go unlock those races. Man, now I'm just like, I want to play through Legion again, like start to finish. Like I want to develop that story.
Let's get the artifacts for you too.
And we awesome. Can. That's the best part. We can play through all that, and it won't be exactly the same because we don't have the artifact power, and then a lot of stuff was deactivated. But with that said, the storyline is solid. Yeah, the transmogs, the storyline is solid. The zones are fun. All the zones are really well thought out. It feels alive, and you know what I liked about Legion too, and not that this is what's great about Legion segment of the show, but what I didn't, and I think we talked about it, like BFA felt disjointed, and I think probably the big theme here is that the pre-patch really has brought everything to feel cohesive again. You know what I mean? Like a solid beginning, middle to now. You can't really say end because it's just an ongoing game, but it sets up the player in a great way where you understand where you fit into this world finally. And for years and years, it just did not feel like that. As the game just got bigger and bigger, more out of hand, and like we talked about it at length, it just felt, okay, I'm going to quest here for these first dozen levels, and then I'm just going to immediately stop there and just move on to this whole new storyline, and stop there and pick it up. Same thing with this playing through Legion now. So you start off a new character from Exile's Reach, you could start going through Legion if you're a resubbed character, and then brings you up to current content. That feels awesome. So at least it feels like you were the true, all right, because of my actions, the Legion is defeated. Now I feel like I can, I feel like I've earned the status of a hero.
Of a champion, right?
Yes.
Because they call you champion throughout the whole time, like throughout your questing and stuff. And it's like, but am I really a champion?
Are you really
all I'm
a champion?
doing is just trying to hit level 120.
Yeah.
Or hit now like level 50.
It feels amazing. So Legion is definitely the one I'm going to recommend for people to go through, and it makes sense. That's what I was going to say. The storyline of Legion. The name of the expansion is Legion. The bad guys from the beginning to the very end is the Burning Legion. It doesn't start off with the bad guys are these people that are affecting Kulturas or Zandalar.
And then all of a sudden there's
and then all of a sudden, the bad guy Sylvanas, right?
Oh, right.
Sylvanas now, we got to deal with her. Oh, wait, no, hold on. But there's an old god at the very end of it, and a Jara. That's bleh. That's like a bleh.
It was just kind of all over the place.
It almost feels like they wanted to just tie up all these loose storylines and let's just handle this now and then move on to Shadowlands and tell a better story. But so for Legion, I will sit here and say probably the best expansions to level through for a new character, if you get to choose, would be Mists of Pandaria or Legion. With that said, I've been seeing a lot of chatter on World of Warcraft subreddits on Reddit about how Warlords of Draenor is having like a resurgence in popularity.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because apparently, which I mean, I want to try it out. I actually told a friend of mine to do that who joined us recently. We'll talk about that later, our guild. But I told him to go to Iron Horde because that's the talk right now is it's faster to level there, especially if you start out, with a new character. Because of the world quests. And like you said, there's so many mobs right?
Yes, it's dense with mobs.
Yeah, so that's why WOD is popular because of that reason. Because you can level faster. I don't think it's the storyline. I think it's because people are able to level faster.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I don't know. I feel like that can happen anywhere.
What I've been seeing is that the people like they just like the leveling is fun and what it's like what it ended up being. Like getting the garrison up and running was fun.
Okay. Once you actually got your garrison working,
and that's how I felt too. Is like the storyline was just like dumb. It's like once everything was already up and established, it was like both the storyline and the things you had to do to continue playing just got boring and lame, and then just kind of. And yeah, let's talk about that. The storyline of Warlords of Draenor, which I didn't follow closely. All of that was meant to set up the Legion as the bad guy for Legion, right?
Yeah.
All of that was that the whole point of this weird convoluted, we're in an alternate timeline, Draenor. If you're lost, yeah, so are we, people. If you're this story kind of didn't make a whole lot of sense, but they went to a completely different world. That version of the Horde is like super belligerent. And they're the worst things. And then at the end of it, somehow they're your buddies. Like what? Like how did that? You know what I mean? Like I didn't really understand that. Them,
but then it seems like a back and forth thing, right?
Yeah, but I feel like
the Horde, and then something happens, and then they.
I honestly feel like that storyline wise, it was just like a real clumsy attempt to revive Gul'dan, because Gul'dan, who for the casual listener, was a central figure in old school. Warcraft and Warcraft 2, the actual RTS games. Gul'dan was like a central figure that got killed off kind of unceremoniously and like not in a big battle.
They brought him back.
But they brought him back because he was such a cool figure. And if you watch the blockbuster hit movie, he's the main bad guy in there. And he was cool. Yeah. He was dope. That version of Gul'dan was awesome. Like he was.
It's like you said, the human part kind of was boring. But
again,
the
humans being boring in World of Warcraft. See that in game and in movie. I'm just saying that was your moment. So Legion, that's what I'm trying to say. So, okay. And now that we're talking about it, I feel like BFA was like a flat, not an exciting expansion by any means. I love aspects of it. Don't get me wrong. There's some good stuff in there, but and I definitely like it more than Warlords of Draenor. But I feel like all of it was just to set up Shadowlands, and hopefully Shadowlands plays out the same way that Legion played out. Like as far as being a super quality expansion, people are going to look back and be like, "Oh, this is great." By the way, have you listened to the login screen? That's changed, right? Have you listened to the music?
Not yet.
I was just building a character right before here. I was building a character creator. So I was going to come on actually originally, and because the other night I was just messing with like the customizations to kind of see what was up. I knew that the Night Elves got a good boost of stuff, and they definitely did. And they you could wear vines in your hair. Did you see that? I
added vines to mine.
You could be a hippie night elf, like a total like tree. I thought that was pretty cool. But so I was messing around with the character customization, and this was the other night. Maybe it was just the mood I was in, but I was gonna come here and just like totally talk mad shit. I was like, night elf males are the ugliest, like in terms of like what they look like. Yeah. Like I was gonna come here and talk about their ears. Their ears.
I know. Did you see that you can make them bigger?
Their ear, yes.
Like thick. And I was like, why would anyone want to make them thick? No.
They're so gross. I was like, to me, I was like, the ears, and I'm trying to design a rogue, and I was like, how is this rogue going to stealth through a crowd of people? His ears are going to be slapping the backs of everybody's heads, like walking by. They're so huge. They're like
trying to make him look like Legolas.
No, Legolas did not have 3 feet of ear.
No, I know. I said he didn't have because he's hot.
A scuba diver's flippers attached to the side of his head.
You can make them short though, right?
You can make them shorter, but they're still comically large. So I was so here's the point of this, and this is why I'm gonna eat my own words. Like I'm sitting here trying to like look through all the different combinations of like, this is a terrible choice to play. Like, why do people play not? Did you see that? Also, the bushy eyebrows.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
you
my
can
gosh.
make them bushy.
It's like the biggest unibrow. It's a unibrow that like it's a tsunami of hair that should fall down on your eyes.
Well, you know what? You can actually switch now from male to female, right? But I didn't look at the male version because I'm sure it's different.
So anyways, but thankfully you can go shaved. So you can have no eyebrows, which I like because it's either comic. So you have a combination of comically large eyebrows and comically large ears. That's not a good look. So so I'm sitting here. I was like, oh man, this is the worst. There's no good. And I sit here and I'm keep twiddling and I was like, and then I make a badass looking night elf warrior that I'm suddenly attached to.
You're like, ooh,
this guy's dope. This guy is gangster. He will wreck shit. Yeah. So that's actually who I started playing through Exile's Reach. So if you're a new and returning player, Exile's Reach is the new starting zone. So if you start a brand new character, it opens up this cutscene and it's awesome because they did a great job of making it so that any expansion moving forward, if they have Exile's Reach at the beginning, it'll just like ease you into the game because that little story bit is kind of timeless. Like, hey, we're on a rescue mission to find like this missing ship. We get stranded ourselves and we have to kind of like work our way to get off this island together kind of thing. But it does very, very, very basic like tutorials, like hit WASD to move and right click your
to pick
your mouse. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's awesome because it totally introduces you to all these quest mechanics that you're going to run into 1,000 times over in the game, but right away. So it's not like, like go out here, pick this up, go out here and kill these 3. Oh, wait, you have to make sure you look for these sparklies, right? Like this is items that you can interact with, which I think is awesome. And really, because this is a massive game and it's deep and its systems can be very intimidating. But if you just have and for the longest time, they didn't really have a system to just kind of like hold your hand through it and like, hey, this is how you should play the game. That's awesome. I think that was such a good addition to the. So
that's what that with the mentor program. I was upset. I told you we talked on the phone about that.
You're devastated.
We wanted to be mentors for the new players coming in, right? But there's one achievement or one what do you call it?
No, achievement.
Qualification that we do not meet and we will never meet because this is one of the things that we talked about that we hated or disliked about BFA.
Yeah.
We have to have purchased every single Titan research, which we'll explain, but you basically have to purchase every, what do you call them?
Every talent
tier, whatever it is, of this, like, God,
for a very specific.
I can't even talk about it because I hate it so much. Yeah. Like you have to grind. We're talking about
the horrific visions of Orgrimmar and Stormwind. Yes.
You really have to grind to get these, things.
It's basically a, air quotes, repeatable daily or repeatable content for solo or group players that progressively gets harder and harder, more difficult and difficult. And basically, in order to get this achievement that Michelle's talking about, you have to do a lot of runs of this particular.
It's just a lot of grinding of a lot of things that you don't want to do.
As it turns out, it's not that fun. It just is not that fun. Like, I think we've mentioned this before. We did the first few runs were kind of cool, getting used to things. And then you realize, oh, this is all there is. Oh, and it's just more annoying as it goes along. Like, oh, this is not fun. It's not a fun content. And
so we're not even that.
We have a lot. Like our talent tree is pretty well in, but I am not willing to put myself through that.
And it sucks because I think we would be great mentors. I think.
Yeah.
But, we're not like pros.
I would not be a good mentor because I'd be like,
I think we know enough to like. They'd ask me a question
and I'd have to go get the baby to do something and never answer their
yeah, that's true. We do have families, so that does come into play.
Help, I'm stuck.
But I just mean like being able, knowing the just, tips and tricks of questing.
Just how you're going to get around. Yeah.
Like maybe we don't know 100%. Like,
yeah. Plus we're pretty sociable people. So
yeah, we're friendly.
Yes, we are friendly.
So,
which kind of leads me to my next segment. So it's come to my attention that a couple people out there have played WoW in the past, who are listening to this, maybe have played WoW in the past, but it's been years, or maybe they just haven't played WoW at all. And sometimes I forget that, if that's the case, you might not know all the different terminologies or just kind of basic stuff that me and Michelle take for granted as we just talk about things. But I definitely want to have a segment that was more geared towards the casual or new player, or just people who are just curious about the game. So we're going to call this, I don't know what to call this, the WoW
terminology. Wow,
no, that's boring.
Encyclopedia.
The rookies, Raymond's rookie report.
Yeah.
Or
noobs.
The casual, just an explanation. But anyways, I'm gonna name the segment and it's gonna have music. It's gonna
we'll figure it out on the way. Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about if you're coming back now, or you're thinking about coming back, or you want to pick it up for the first time just because you're a chatter and you're curious, but you're like, well, this game is huge. There's a lot of lore, there's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts to it, but let's break it down to basics. Like, what should I play? Like, and that seems to be a big, there's 12 classes in the game now, Michelle. Two of them that are not available right away. That would be Death Knights and Demon Hunters, because they're considered hero classes.
Yeah.
So you can't start one, or I don't know if you can't start one until you have a character that's max level that's a non one of those classes. That was the restriction before, but I don't know if that's changed since. But that leaves 10 other classes that a new player who might be checking this out, like, what is this, right?
That's funny, because I actually thought about this earlier today.
Did you?
Yeah, I thought about different classes and what that says about your personality.
Ooh, nice. So here's I'm going to call this very specific segment Raymond's Rookie Recommendation. Raymond's Rookie Recommendation for a new class to start in Shadowlands, or for if you're just starting as a new player. I'm going to go ahead and recommend a Hunter. Here's why. So what is a Hunter? A Hunter is what we call a range DPS class. And what is DPS? DPS stands for damage per second. All you need to know is that its job, a Hunter's job in the game, if you're playing in group content, and what it's geared toward, is just to kill things quickly. That is, and from a distance, thus the range. I think Hunters are probably the easiest class to kind of wrap your head around as a new player, because it definitely fulfills that fantasy trope, right? Like of an archer class or a ranger class, right? Something that it's easy to grasp, like, okay, well, I have a bow and arrow, or in this case, sometimes a gun, depending, long range gun. I have ammo. I see something in a distance, I start shooting at it. The other cool thing, you have different kind of shots, and it's like easy to understand. Okay, well, if I'm playing this Hunter, it's like, well, here's my standard attack when I'm just shooting arrows or shooting bullets or whatever. And then when I hit this button, it does a special attack, which has a different glowy effect, right, than my normal attacks. And it will explain what it does to make me stronger, or how does it affect this fight, doing these different actions, what have you. So as far as like the ease of just trying to understand what's going on, the Hunter's the best. And so on top of that, because you're a range class, remember we talked about fighting in crotches and staring at and being melee and not seeing what's going on? You
can see everything now.
There's something that's really immersive about just being able to see what's going on in front of you, right? You're approaching a giant dragon or a huge like giant that's walking by. You send out, by the way, you can have animals as companions as games. They're pets.
Or not pets, but they attack.
Yeah, they're basically
pets that attack.
Yes. And so these pets that attack basically take on the job of being basically the job of a tank, which is to attract.
Well, it depends, right?
Depending, right.
So all these pets also have different characteristics.
Right. Which is a fun mini game in and of itself that is you can go really deep into the rabbit hole with, or you can just still be fairly casual with and not even really consider what your pets are and still have a good time. Just know that you have these pets that will take a beating for you while you're standing back and shooting and trying to take down whatever giant monster happens to be attacking. So as far as like from a fantasy perspective or from a lore perspective, or just like an ease of understanding how they fit into the world, hunters are super like just easy to jump into. On top of that, they're incredibly mobile. So they have a lot of spells and sort of like passive abilities that make them physically run and move around the landscape faster than other classes do. Plus, they also have tracking abilities so that different things can appear on a mini map that other abilities don't, which is kind of a nice advantage, especially if you're just getting used to a huge world, open world MMO that you don't know, you're not necessarily familiar with. That's a huge like advantage to be able to see where things are in a mini map, so you can just kind of get to things much quicker. But I think for me, the biggest advantage for Hunter is that because it's a pet class, you can just solo a bunch of content without having to worry about having a healer or a tank with you, because it kind of comes built in with your pets, especially the tank portion. So there's a lot of content. In fact, there's a lot of legacy achievements too, but that's later on, that can only be done with a pet solo with the pet class, because you need the pet to take certain abilities from the boss, while you in the back can do whatever mechanics that you need to do. But that's a little bit more advanced. But what I'm saying is, if you wanted to start a new character and you are wanting to get a feel for this game now, and just kind of ease your way into it, I think a hunter is a great starting class to go with. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it is an easier class to, like if you're just now learning the game. And if you don't have anyone to play with, it's easy to solo, because like you said, you can use your animals as your pets as a tank to take on all that damage for you. And all you have to do is, like you said, is, sit back and shoot.
You also have a panic button in the form of feign death. So there's an ability.
Feign death. Ooh, and your pets can also do that too,
Your
so they
pets
don't
can
die.
feign death. So like, what the heck are
So
you
you
guys
both
talking
can
about?
feign death and like pretend that you're not there anymore, and then the mobs will run away.
Absolutely. So
I mean, sorry, not pretend you're not there anymore. You die. You pretend to die.
Basically, what ends up happening is that if you bite off more than you can chew.
Yes, but there is a term called. That's, since we're talking about like rookie, and one thing that they do call the hunters is a huntard.
Yes.
And there's a reason why they call them that. So when you are playing your hunter, just be careful with your pets. Be careful with your. So there's something called multi-shot too. That a multi-shot will shoot arrows or bullets if you have a gun to like in multiple directions towards a mob. Right? You can accidentally, like say if you're running a dungeon, you can accidentally hit a mob that we did not aggro, and you will like, I've seen hunters aggro like the whole
pack.
We would die because of hunters. Yeah. So just be careful. Especially when you're in group, be careful. I remember your pets or your multi-shot will aggro other mobs, and people will be very upset with you.
My first ever character was an orc hunter, and I was terrible with it. And we were in a dungeon, Moradon. And this is before they made changes. I don't think sometimes it does this still, depending on like pathing issues, but we took a shortcut in the dungeon where you jump off of a ledge to go into the water or whatever. So you can avoid like a whole path that you'd have to go to and kill otherwise. I didn't realize, and this is new, I realized after this, that the pets don't jump with you. What they'll do is a computer will find a route for that pet to physically walk down to you, and it will take that route by itself. But unfortunately, if that route is populated with a ton of enemies that you just wanted to avoid,
all of those mobs
and drag their asses all the way to you. So that's what we're talking about. So there's certain little considerations.
So just be careful. Like, yes, it's a great class to play, a first class. But just be just be careful.
Yes.
Because you can do some damage, especially if you're in a group.
But with that said, being a hunter is pretty cool. And then you get this whole, like, there's another mini game, especially for a Beastmaster hunter, where you just want to collect all the different rare pets, or not rare pets, the rare animals that are in the world. That's pretty cool. So it's awesome that you, like, every once in a while you'll just see a hunter who's like all maxed out, and then like the pets following them are these
pets, like these cool looking, like slime or fire or something happening, you know, you're just like, oh my God. And they have two of them just following them around.
That's badass.
I mean, you can have pets that are they're just pets that you have, you know, you can collect pets. There's an in-game pet battle thing that we can talk about some other time, but they don't really do much, and they're very tiny.
Yes, and those are the pets that are like cosmetic pets, right? Which we'll talk about.
But hunter pets,
woo,
yeah.
So yeah, if you're thinking about playing, roll a hunter. It'll be good times. But speaking of playing, we wanted to talk about our guild, our own guild. So Michelle and I play Alliance characters on the server Dalaran, and we started a guild, but we haven't really put a whole lot of work into it. But we'd like to. But it was mostly out of convenience, just so that, you know, me and Hedge could
just so we can be together,
just to have like a guild chat in case anybody was on.
But we had a thought when we were talking, and we thought, oh, well, we have this podcast. We know people are listening. If you decide to join or resub, or if you're new and you haven't played and you want to play with some friendly people, we're opening it up to you guys. If you want to create an Alliance character, come and join us on Dalaran. We're mostly on, I think, at night, in the evening, every day almost, right? Mm-hmm. At least one of us. But if you, our guild is Insight, INCITE, which is actually my old guild. The same name as my old guild. And all you have to do is just /who Insight, right?
I think so. Sometimes the who doesn't work. Have you noticed that?
Really?
Sometimes. Yes. It's been buggy.
I noticed that if they're not on our server,
it doesn't show up. It's like
there's never shows.
Oh, hey, there's nobody in your zone. I was like, I'm looking at 10 people right now. Right. But what's going on?
Or you can look by character. It would be easier for you because I have weird characters in my name.
I have weird names too. Yeah. Well, I mean, no, it's not characters. It's not how I don't even know how to spell my name.
I would just try /who Insight, or look for the guild, because there's the guild page where you can look for guilds. And then just, apply, and we'll invite you and just say, hey, we heard you on the podcast and we want to play.
Let me caveat all this. Michelle used to run a guild, like a proper guild with a schedule and what have you. I used to be part of her guild. I used to be part of another guild that did, for the most part, that ran a proper schedule. Yeah, we're not interested in doing that.
We're not trying to be a hardcore raiding guild.
We are not.
We just want to have fun.
We're just actually looking for like-minded people who are casual players who probably prefer playing solo content on their own, but are just like sociable and like to chat with people on Discord while they're playing. That's honestly how I play. Like Michelle and I play this game a lot, but we don't play together hardly at all, just because our schedules are different, unless we have to do different things. Yeah, and if we're on at the same time, which I will offer, like I'll let you know, if you need help with anything, like running anything for an achievement or whatever it is, we're always like, hey, will you be on tonight? Let's do this. And it's like, okay, cool. So it would be fun to have more than just 3 people doing. I just want to try an actual social experiment where it's like a guild of people who just treat it like a social club. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like if you want to raid, I think we did mention, go for it. We can try it. Like if we have enough people, like, oh hey guys, do you want to try and see if we can down a boss or something? Yeah, or run a mythic or something like that. But not be too serious about it, because we've been there, we've done that. It's not fun. And that's the thing. That's why we're giving you that now. It's like if you're like us, if you're like a parent and you have like an hour a week to play this game, but you just want to be able to come on and like be able to chat with whoever happens to be on for that 1 hour of your time about whatever is going on. That's what we're here for. Give it a try. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. We're not forcing anybody to stay or anything like that. There's no dues that you have to pay or blah, blah, blah. But definitely want to kind of, and that's really, I guess I would summarize my gaming life. Like as an adult, it's like, I just wish I had more people to play with. And just people who are almost like on standby that you can just like know that it's there. But then you figure like the more people who casually play it are in one place, the more you'll have that access of just like casual people that might want to join up and do something with you. Come on out. Insight on Dalaran, Alliance side. That'll be fun. Yeah. So,
let's
Michelle,
see how that goes.
I'm excited about our next segment.
Yes.
Because we have a listener email. Super, super exciting. Our first one that we get to share with you. Well, not live, but we get to share with you on air, which is awesome. So please, we want to get emails. We want to hear from you. If you're listening, it's a big, it makes our day when that little email comes up on that account, that somebody, it just kind of reaffirms the fact that somebody's listening. That's nice. It's nice.
It's nice.
It's a nice feeling. Because
it's good.
Like just to let you guys know a little bit behind the curtain, neither Michelle or I do this professionally. This is just us. This is just us putting together a show about something that we like, because I feel like it would have been fun to do. And we have these conversations unrecorded anyway. So we might as well just put it on air and see what happens. And the fact that people are listening, that makes us, I don't know. It's
a good feeling.
It's not even just a good feeling. It's such it hits in a particular way now that I'm very appreciative for. So without further ado, here is our first listener email. Michelle, please take it away.
So our first listener email is from Rob, and it's actually a husband and wife.
Ooh.
So here's his email. It's, "Hey, a Resubbed crew. I wanted to drop a quick comment and question. First, fantastic podcast. Truly, my wife and I are longtime casuals with a teeny tiny bit of rating sprinkled in for personal torture, like us, who recently resubbed to the game with our son, which is awesome. It's been great listening to your cast and realizing there are other filthy casuals who just play WoW these days for the funsies.
Yep.
Question. Who do you miss about the early WoW days? Sorry, what? See, I said who. What do you miss about the early WoW days when you first started to really get into it? For me, it wasn't the game as much as it was a community that grew around it. So many great websites, podcasts, and personalities emerged at that time. Very few were Very few were about min-maxing. Most were about funny in-game stories, lore, RPing, etc. Hope your podcast continues to grow, but more importantly, hope you continue to have fun. Rob." So question, Raymond, what do you miss about the early WoW days?
Rob, thank you so much for writing in. That is a fantastic question. And this is something that I tend to think of a lot now. I'm a little bit old. So it's probably just me having a midlife crisis or what have you, but I tend to think about like just review your life in general, kind of like, why did I end up where I was? But Rob, when you brought this up, it's like, where was I when I started playing WoW? And that really is kind of, I guess that's what really colors my answer for the point, because at the time when we started playing WoW, I was just, I was in college. My life was basically in college. I had a job as a barista, part-time job. And then all my extra time was spent hanging out with friends and then playing Warcraft. That was sort of like my mindset. And so obviously my early 20s, right? I was in a super sociable mood. Like I wanted to meet everybody. I wanted to talk to everybody. And so when Warcraft came out, that was like, it was introducing another community to me, and it was kind of cool. And so to your point, Rob, yeah, there was a lot of like personalities. There was a lot of message for it, and it was because World of Warcraft was like super hot at the time. It wasn't just like, oh, this is a brand new game. It was sort of like a game changer, because at that time, a lot of people didn't spend nearly as much time online as they do now. Or I should say the spread of people who do. Like, I felt like that people in our age group were starting to be much more comfortable with, like, because that's like Facebook was fairly new, MySpace was still there. That was definitely something that appealed to the college age and younger crowd. And so we kind of like ate it up. So WoW was just like another extension of that, but it was like a nerdy one. You know what I mean? Now it's not just like my social group of people who are getting on Warcraft. These are people who love this genre of games that are all now coming together. But on top of that too, I remember celebrities were playing remember in this heyday, like celebrities were playing World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Ellen DeGeneres famously was playing World of Warcraft before.
Did you know Paul Walker played?
Paul Walker played. R.I.P. to Paul Walker. There was rumors that Dave Chappelle had a character playing on. So it wasn't just the heyday of WoW, which I think was in vanilla-ish, probably before BC, was everybody was playing. Like everybody, because everybody wanted to check it out because it was a phenomenon kind of thing. 10 million people playing WoW is crazy numbers at those times. And what I miss most, I guess, to just drag on questions, like I was introduced to this community, and WoW itself back in the day was all about what server you were on, because the way that the game was divided was like every world of Azeroth existed. You know, copies of that world existed on different servers, and the servers, which server you played on, usually depended on where you physically lived. You wanted to be on a West Coast server, because I lived in California at the time, so that the lag time wasn't off, right? So you can just get the best kind of service, because not everybody had super fast internet either back then, which is kind of funny to think. Like, and so where you were on your server, that was its own community. And what I mean by that is that anytime you had to do any kind of group activity, it was with players on your server, which could be a couple thousand, I guess, or, you know, I don't know what the max was. And what I miss about those times was it meant something if you had a reputation on your server. If you were a good tank or a good healer, people would know about that. Because how it worked is, like, if you wanted to go run a group, like, hey, let's go run Stratholme or something like that, you'd have to meet up in Orgrimmar or wherever, physically wait for the players and then all go port together to the same place. It wasn't just you click a button and then you instantly appeared in a dungeon with like 4 other randomly grouped people that you have no idea with. What ends up happening is just like in real life. It's like if you find somebody who's good at fixing your car, you keep going to that person to fix your car. If you knew somebody who was a good tank and he was on, hey dude, you made a friend with them, like, hey dude, what are you doing? I need to go to Dire Mall. You'd have all these little interactions that got you to actually talk to people. So if you were part of a guild, prestigious guild, I don't know if you remember this, but if somebody from one guild was griefing somebody else from another guild for different reasons, they would have their guild officers talk to the other guild officers about their behavior. I was like, that's some weird shit. Like, but that's how the structure was, right? Like, there was a structure, there was rules, and there's a thing in place. Like, you didn't behave badly on a server because you got called out on it. If not called out in the game, you got called out on the official message boards too. Like, there was a thing that was going on. And so during that time, when I'm like at my most sociable, I guess you could say, I was also incorporating this, like being part of a guild that was notable on my server, playing with people, having people just whisper me like, hey, we need a tank for something like this. And it felt like such an alive world and community. And it's like everybody had the same schedule. It's like around 3-4 o'clock, people would be done with classes. They start logging in, they start talking about stuff. I met a lot of people in real life just talking that way. And the game's different now. And so for a long time, and I know this isn't the scope of the question, but for a long time, and I think this makes sense, especially for people who are resubbing like me, is that if you're trying to chase that feeling again, it's just not there, because it's It's unfortunate. The way that the world has worked out is like things, especially online, things are just a lot more impersonal, and they've traded like convenience for that kind of social aspect. But with that said, it's not completely dead and gone. It's like, I think when the game, and that's why people are playing Classic, right? For that experience, to go back to those days where the systems kind of force you to have to interact with each other, and you have to be sociable, and things are like server to server. And people, that appeals to people, and they miss that feeling of that close-knit community. But I feel like the game is so much better as a game now, but the way you have to interact with it is different. So if you're coming back and looking for that same, like, hey, we're just, I could just log in at any time and all of a sudden 50 of my friends or people I like to talk to are playing. That's not the case anymore. I'm not saying you can't find a guild that does that. I'm sure there are, but it's not as prevalent as it used to be. Thus, if you do want it, that's why we're trying this big social experiment with our guild on Dalaran for Insight. Come check us out. Yes, come on board. Because that's the kind of experience I want to see if we can try to somewhat emulate, which is you log in and there's people that you can chat with, and it's fun and it's cool, and nobody's taking anything particularly seriously. Yeah. Michelle, what about you? What's something that you miss back in the day?
From like early days? I did the opposite. I was on a server that was East Coast, I believe. Or sorry, yeah, East Coast, I believe, on East Coast time, I think. I was in a guild that was overseas. So it was actually pretty fun. They spoke English, so it wasn't like I didn't know what was going on. But I did miss like the camaraderie. I do miss that. I miss that. Like I was sort of like a part of a family. Yes. In this guild. And there's actually this, it's interesting. So there's this guy, his name is Crow. I believe that could have been his real name too, but he had like the deepest voice I've ever heard. It's a Filipino, by the way. They were in the Philippines. He had like the deepest voice I've ever heard in my life. Like I was like, oh my God. And he was a tank. So he'd be like, hey guys, so, like super deep. Now. I mean, like really deep. And it's just like, you're trying to play, but you laugh because his voice is so deep. And for some reason, that's one of the things that I remember back in the day is just playing with this tank or raid leader that had a super, super deep voice. And then I thought, I'm never going to ever see this or like hear this, because I think I stopped playing or I left their guild. I don't know what happened. Something happened in between, like when I first started playing with them to starting my own guild. But when I went to a different server with my mage, I started my own guild. And then lo and behold, here I have this tank who sound almost exactly like Crow, super deep voice, who's also a raid leader, and he was super cool. And it's like
his name was Raven.
Yeah, right. What was it? His name was Javriga. Do you remember Javriga? He played a little bit when you his name was Javriga. His voice was super deep too. But it's just funny because these things that you think about, you're like, you look forward to listening to everybody, like having fun in Ventrilo is what we had before. Discord. Do you remember that? So just like the friendships you have, the voices, just hearing them every day, talking to them about other things too, about life, not just World of Warcraft.
No,
even though we were raiding and doing all these stressful things in game, you were still talking about life as well. And so that's what I missed was
it almost felt like, and it really does feel like that way. It's like, it was going to a job and you loved all your coworkers.
Exactly. Because it was a job.
It was a
job.
Your
job was to either tank, heal, or DPS.
Yeah. And
or
not screw
lead,
up.
Whatever it was.
Follow directions.
But with people you
commit to the time. But people that you liked. And for me, it was like people that were at the same age group as me, right?
Yeah.
People that still had so much disposable time. And it's hard to...
Yeah, exactly.
It's so weird to like reconcile it with now, which is like, I have no time. You know what I mean? And that's sort of where I'm at. But I still crave that interaction to a certain degree.
It's the interaction.
Not as intense. Yeah.
It's not the rating per se. It's just being in like Discord now with people and playing and laughing and having fun. And, that's what I miss.
And I think just being older and being parents, it's just like, we just don't have that time. And so...
no time to stress.
It really isn't. It really isn't. And so
We
for
have
us,
other
it's like,
things to stress about.
and I don't want to be as, and I don't want necessarily want to be as involved because I was chatting up with everybody. Like I knew so many individual people. So, you know what I mean? Like I'm not interested.
I've been involved with like a lot of drama.
Yeah. And that
like even in trade chat, like my name was out there. So
trade chat, by the way, I forgot to mention.
Oh, right. It was normal for like a day, right?
For 2 days.
Yeah.
2 days, people were complaining about
just about the game.
Oh,
and nothing else.
Complaining about the game, and that was it. Trade chat was back, baby. WoW is back.
But
for 2 days,
now,
and then the town hall.
People mentioned. Did you notice? Like what? Someone actually said it yesterday. Not yesterday, on Friday. I played for a little bit, and someone was like, "Oh, and trade chat is back," as in the negative.
Yeah, back to American politics. Yeah, I'm sorry, and I know that Warcraft is an international game. So for all international listeners out there, it's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that our stupid politics is like infecting everything and making nothing. But like just like anything too, it's just like. For trade chat, in case, so I know what you're talking. So there is, for casual listeners, like, what are you guys talking about? If you're in a major city in World of Warcraft, you are automatically put into a global chat room called trade chat, and so anybody who posts in that channel, you can see it if you're in, because it automatically puts you in. And it's mostly meant for trading. With that said, trade chat has always been those places where people just like spout off and stupid stuff, and trade chat has evolved over the years. You know what I mean? There's from putting the word anal to linking something to those good old days.
People try to start that and it'll go on for maybe 10 minutes, but then it kind of dies off.
And it dies down. And then there's also, what's the other, linking Thunder Fury like every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So from really memey stuff. Unfortunately, lately, and I'm sure it's been this way for the last couple of years, it's gotten worse. It's just all of it about American politics. But quite frankly, that talk has always kind of been there. It's more now, but it's only like a few people. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's always the same names, and you'll see it. Yeah, and they're just going around trolling or just trying to get a reaction, and it's the same people, just like in real life. A few loudmouths just wanting to be loud, and a bunch of people just trying to get on with their business and their day. But yeah, for 2 days, it wasn't like that. For 2 days, it was all about complaining about the pre-patch.
You can leave it if it really bothers you. You know?
I'm looking forward to hopefully some kind of reduction in this after the election, one way or the other.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Who knows?
There's still,
whatever.
It'll be like current events.
It'll be something.
And then it'll be this one side against this side, and it's like, okay.
It's the internet. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
But anyways, yes, if you, so thank you so much going back. Thank you so much for writing that letter, Rob.
Thank you for that question.
And that was great. If you guys have any questions, comments, topics that you want to discuss, please send them in to resubbedpodcast at gmail.com. That's resubbedpodcast. So RESUBBED podcast, PODCAST at gmail.com. I check it all the time. So love to hear from you. Want to get some more questions and anything you want to talk about. Even if you're can you explain some basic terms to us? I will do that. That's more than happy to, because I think the more people that play this game and discover how fun it is, the better off the game is. So, but yeah, Michelle, I think that'll wrap up today's episode. Was there anything else that you want to bring up before we take a bow?
No, I think we're good.
I did want to bring up. There's been some funny bugs going on with the pre-patch as well. One thing I want to bring up was somebody on posted on Reddit that if you had gender swapped your mage, so from female, I think in this case it was from male to female, but then you cast mirror image, for a short while the mirror image is of the male version of the thingies. But what was funny was that the screenshot they posted, it looked like the male version, but in the women's clothing style, like it had a midriff and everything.
Oh my gosh, did they fix it?
I think it's fixed, but like some of the comments were super funny. Like one of them was just like, that's not a bug, that's a feature. The other one was,
that's so funny.
The other one put RuPaul's WoW race.
I did now that you mention it, I think I messaged you when I finished leveling my warlock. My hunter was glitchy.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But only my hunter. I
What
went
happened?
on every other character I had, and they were fine. And I went and tried to play with my hunter or play my hunter. I couldn't see the NPCs,
Weird.
and I couldn't. I was trying to do a quest. I was trying to start a quest to go to Legion, and I couldn't see anything. And I kept going, like logging off and logging on, and it didn't work.
That's weird. Have
all.
you been on since?
Yeah. So then I also so then I decided to just go to Borellis because we had that quest to go there. And so I just went there, and same thing. Like I couldn't complete anything. I couldn't click on anybody. I couldn't do anything. It was weird. So then I went on, and it happened again. And then right before we went on our trip, I tried again, and it worked. Like for 10 minutes, I was like, okay, I can finally like turn something in.
How weird.
But the whole time, like, I could not do anything, and I don't know what was wrong. And it was only my hunter.
It's like your hunter was.
I was like, is this a sign?
Caught in between the matrix, like you couldn't.
Yeah, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't level my hunter right now. I don't know, because everything else was working fine. Exile's Reach was working fine. I started that rogue. She was working fine. Like, everything was great. But the hunter was like, nope, not today.
Not today, sons. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. No animals for you. All right, Michelle, is there anywhere that people can find you besides our podcast?
I have my YouTube channel, but we're kind of revamping it.
Still work in progress?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to change it a bit.
We gotta do our other podcast too, dude.
And yes, we have our TBD gaming. Oh, so
maybe we should just call it TBD Gamers Podcast,
right? Because we can't figure out a name, but we do have our other podcast where we talk about other games. So if you play any console game, any PC game, like.
Have you heard of this game called Hades? That's what I want to get for the Switch. It's supposed to be like Diablo, but apparently it's supposed to be really, really fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'll let you know how that goes. But yeah, so as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to try to level up my new priest entirely on streaming only, just to see if I can.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I've been a very inconsistent
We haven't
Twitch
been streaming at all.
Yeah, and it's just because life is getting away. Well, we both work. We both have kids. It's just how it goes.
Yeah.
It's hard to find a consistent time to do it, but I do want to try give it a shot. I want to see how far I can get with just streaming, or if I just give up. I'm like, I just want to play this game.
Have we done YouTube yet or no?
We have 2 episodes up on YouTube for if you guys just want to check out.
What's the channel?
You can just find Resubbed Podcast. There is a Resubbed Podcast channel.
Because I'm like, okay.
You can find my Twitch streaming on Twitch. Just look up Ramen_piledriver. All of my screen names, WoW character names, are some variation of that. That's why I can't tell you how my name is spelled, because it's just some kind of weird, like a license plate mashup of that Ramen pile driver. So either way, or come visit us. Like I said, if you want a guild to join again, come find us on the Dalaran server on Alliance side. Look for the guild Insight. Hopefully Michelle or I will be available for you to talk to. But until then, thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next week with another great episode. But until then, have fun. Have a great day.
Fun.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow.